Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every hardship you endure sharpens the blade of your character. The world may break your body, but only you can let it break your spirit. The Stoic does not beg for comfort. He uses adversity to build, discipline to clarify purpose, to rise above. You can't control what happens, but you can control what it makes of you. That is your power. That is your freedom. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every hardship you endure sharpens the blade of your character. The world may break your body, but only you can let it break your spirit. The Stoic does not beg for comfort. He uses adversity to build, discipline to clarify purpose, to rise above. You can't control what happens, but you can control what it makes of you. That is your power. That is your freedom. Listen carefully, for what I'm about to share with you comes not from books or theories, but from the battlefield of life itself. I have commanded armies, ruled an empire, and faced the deepest personal losses a man can endure. Through it all, I learned one truth. Your pain is not a punishment. It is preparation. Every morning as you rise from your bed, you face a choice. Will you curse the difficulties that await you, or will you understand their true purpose? The universe does not send you trials to destroy you. It sends them to reveal you, to show you what lies beneath the surface of your character. Think of the finest steel. How is it forged? In comfortable temperatures, in gentle conditions? No. It is born in fire, hammered by relentless blows, tested against resistance. This is how it becomes unbreakable. Your suffering serves the same purpose. But here's what most don't understand. The fire that burns you can fuel you. The weight that crushes you can crown you. The pain that breaks you can remake you. It all depends on one thing: your response. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this teaching me? This is where transformation begins. This is where power is born. Every obstacle that stands in your way is not a wall. It is a weight. And like any weight, it can strengthen you if you choose to lift it. I have seen men broken by luxury more often than by hardship. I have watched souls wither in comfort, while others bloomed in adversity. The difference was never in their circumstances. It was in their choice. The choice to see pain not as a curse to escape, but as a forge to enter. Your suffering will not stop because you wish it to. It will not yield to your complaints or your prayers, but it will bow to your will if you learn to use it rather than fight it. This is the warrior's way. This is the philosopher's path. This is how you turn pain into power. Remember, the same fire that melts the weak tempers the strong. The same pressure that shatters glass forges diamonds. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to become unbreakable. So face your pain, study it, understand it, but most importantly, use it. Let every setback sharpen your resolve. Let every failure fuel your determination. Let every wound become a weapon in your arsenal of growth. The fire within you is waiting. Will you let it consume you, or will you let it forge you into something greater than you ever imagined possible? The choice, as always, remains yours. But know this: strength is not given. It is claimed through struggle, through persistence, through the daily choice to rise above your circumstances rather than be defined by them. Now tell me, what will you choose to do with your pain today? Let me speak to you about endurance, not as an abstract virtue, but as a conscious choice. You make every single moment. I've watched soldiers stand firm in brutal winters, seen senators maintain dignity through disgrace, and witnessed common people bear burdens that would seem impossible. What separated them from those who broke? One thing: their decision. Here's what most people don't understand about endurance. It's not about being invincible. It's about being unstoppable. There's a crucial difference. The invincible never feel pain. The unstoppable feel everything, but continue anyway. You wake each morning carrying yesterday's weights. Your body aches. Your mind whispers doubts. The path ahead seems too long, too hard, too uncertain. This is precisely where endurance begins. Not when you feel strong, but when you feel broken and choose to continue anyway. The crucial moment isn't when you start. It's when you want to stop, but don't. When your muscles burn, when your mind screams for rest, when everything in you begs to quit. That moment, that precise moment, is where you forge your character. That's where you make the choice that defines you. But let me tell you something. They don't teach you in schools. Endurance isn't just about physical stamina. It's about mental fortitude. The body can endure far more than most imagine, but only if the mind permits it. Your limits are not in your muscles or bones. They're in your thoughts. Think of the oak tree. It doesn't just endure storms. It grows stronger because of them. Its roots dig deeper, its trunk grows thicker, its branches become more resilient. This is not because the oak is special. It's because this is nature's way. What doesn't destroy you can strengthen you if you choose to let it. You say you're tired. Good. You say it's hard. Good. You say you don't know if you can continue. This is exactly where growth begins. This is where you discover what you're truly capable of. Not in comfort, not in ease, but in that moment when you decide to push beyond what you thought possible. Remember this: fatigue is temporary. Exhaustion passes. Pain fades. But the pride of having endured, of having chosen to continue when you could have quit, that stays with you forever. It becomes part of who you are. When others seek excuses, you must seek opportunities. When others look for escape, you must look for engagement. When others break, you must bend and spring back. Stronger. This is not about being better than others. It's about being better than your previous self. Here's a truth that few want to hear. Your capacity for endurance grows only when tested. You cannot build this strength in comfort. You cannot develop it in theory. It must be earned through practice, through conscious choice, through deliberate engagement with difficulty. Every day, life will present you with moments to choose. Will you stop or continue? Will you shrink or expand? Will you break or adapt? These moments may seem small, taking one more step, reading one more page, making one more attempt. But these choices accumulate. They become your character. The weak seek comfort. The strong seek progress. The wise seek growth through discomfort. Which will you be? The choice is yours, not once, but every moment of every day. So stand firm when others flee. Hold steady when others waver, not because you don't feel the strain, but because you've decided that your purpose is greater than your discomfort. Your mission matters more than your momentary pain. Endurance is not a gift bestowed upon the lucky few. It is a choice available to all who dare to make it. Every day, every hour, every moment. Choose it enough times, and it becomes not just what you do, but who you are. Now, as you face your own challenges, remember, you are not fragile, you are not broken. You are becoming, and becoming is always a choice. Let me share with you an ancient truth that has guided emperors and philosophers alike. The obstacle is not blocking your path. It is your path. What stands in your way becomes the way forward. This is not mere rhetoric. This is practical wisdom. Forged in the fires of experience, consider this. Every challenge you face presents you with a choice. You can see it as a barrier that stops you or as a doorway that transforms you. The event itself is neutral. Your perspective gives it meaning. Your response gives it power. But let me ask you this. When was the last time ease made you stronger? When did comfort push you to grow? Look back at your life. The moments that shaped you, that forged your character, were they not the moments of greatest resistance? Here's what most people don't understand about obstacles. They are not random. They are not meaningless. They are precise teachers, showing you exactly where you need to grow, exactly what you need to learn. The universe is not punishing you, it's guiding you. Think of water meeting a rock in its path. Does the water stop? Does it complain? No. It flows around, it flows over, it flows through. Sometimes it takes years, but the water always finds its way, and in finding its way, it creates beauty, canyons, valleys, waterfalls. Your obstacles can create similar beauty in your character if you learn to flow with them rather than fight against them. The secret lies in this shift of perspective. Stop seeing obstacles as things happening to you. Start seeing them as things happening for you. That difficult person at work, they're teaching you patience. That financial setback, it's teaching you resourcefulness. That personal loss, it's teaching you resilience. But here's the crucial point. This is not about passive acceptance. The Stoic does not simply endure. He transforms. He takes what life presents and turns it into fuel for growth. Like an alchemist turning lead into gold, you must learn to turn problems into progress. Every obstacle presents three possible paths. You can go over it, under it, or through it. The choice is yours. But standing still, complaining, wishing it away, these are not options for the one who seeks growth. Movement is essential. Action is required. Remember, the same wind that extinguishes a candle feeds a fire. The same pressure that breaks glass forges steel. The same obstacle that stops one person becomes a stepping stone for another. The difference lies not in the obstacle, but in the response. When you face resistance, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I use this? What strength is this building in me? These questions transform your relationship with difficulty. They turn barriers into bridges, problems into possibilities. The marketplace is full of people seeking easy paths, comfortable solutions, smooth roads. But excellence is not found on easy paths. Greatness is not forged in comfort. The path of growth is always marked by resistance. Here's a truth that few embrace. The size of your obstacles often reveals the size of your potential. Life doesn't give you challenges you can't handle. It gives you challenges that will help you grow. But only if you choose to engage with them rather than avoid them. So face your obstacles with this understanding. They are not here to stop you. They are here to show you how strong you can become. They are not your enemies. They are your allies in disguise. They are not punishments. They are opportunities. The path forward is rarely clear, but clarity comes through engagement, not avoidance. Through action, not contemplation alone. The obstacle is the way. The resistance is the path. The challenge is the opportunity. What stands before you today? What seems to be blocking your path? Remember, that very thing is your path. Engage with it. Learn from it. Use it. Let it forge you into something stronger than you were before. Listen carefully, for what I'm about to share with you is perhaps the most crucial battle you'll ever fight, the war within your own mind. I've commanded armies across vast territories, but I tell you this, no battlefield is more decisive than the space between your ears. Your inner dialogue shapes everything. Here's what most don't understand. Your mind is not a democracy. It's an empire. And like any empire, it needs a strong ruler. Every thought that enters is either a loyal subject serving your greatness or a rebel trying to destroy your peace. You must learn to distinguish between them and rule them with absolute authority. The average person is a slave to their thoughts. They believe every whisper of doubt, every cry of fear, every suggestion of unworthiness that crosses their mind. They let these thoughts rule them, direct them, define them. But you must become the emperor of your mind. Think of your thoughts. As advisors in your court, some will speak of fear, others of ambition, some counsel retreat, others advance, some whisper of past failures, others of future glory. But remember this, you are the emperor. You decide which advisors to hear and which to dismiss. You choose which thoughts to believe and which to banish. But let me ask you this, how often do you question your thoughts? How often do you examine the voices in your head with the same scrutiny you'd give to a stranger's words? Most people never do. They accept their inner dialogue as truth, never realizing that thoughts are not facts, they're proposals, and you have the power to reject them. The untrained mind is like a city without walls, vulnerable to every invading thought, every marauding doubt, every pillaging fear. But through discipline, through conscious choice, through daily practice, you can build walls, you can establish borders, you can create an inner empire where only thoughts that serve you are allowed to dwell. Here's a truth that took me years to learn. Suffering begins in the mind. Physical pain is inevitable, but mental anguish is optional. It's not what happens to you that causes the most suffering. It's what you tell yourself about what happens to you. Change the narrative, and you change the experience. When failure approaches, what does your inner voice say? When obstacles arise, what story does your mind tell? These are not mere questions. They are the difference between victory and defeat. Because long before any external battle is won or lost, it's decided in the chambers of your mind. Consider this practice. Every time a negative thought enters your mind, interrogate it like a suspicious guard at your city's gate. What evidence do you bring? What purpose do you serve? Are you a truth-teller or a saboteur? Make each thought earn its place in your mental empire. The weak mind says, "I can't handle this." The strong mind asks, "How can I handle this?" The weak mind declares, "This is impossible." The strong mind questions, "How can I make this possible?" Notice the difference? It's not just semantics. It's the foundation of mental sovereignty. Here's what most people don't realize about mental strength. It's not about having no negative thoughts. It's about how you engage with those thoughts when they arrive. The strong mind doesn't fear negative thoughts. It masters them. It doesn't avoid difficult emotions. It channels them. Your inner dialogue should be your most powerful ally, not your worst enemy. Train it to search for opportunities instead of obstacles. Guide it to focus on solutions instead of problems. Teach it to find strength in adversity instead of reasons for retreat. Remember this. Every great achievement in human history began as a thought, a dialogue someone had with themselves about what was possible. Your inner dialogue is creating your outer reality. Every victory, every defeat begins here, in the privacy of your own mind. So guard your mental territory fiercely. Be selective about the thoughts you entertain. Be deliberate about the stories you tell yourself. Your mind is not a public square where every thought can roam freely. It's a sacred space where only thoughts that serve your greatness should dwell. The mastery of inner dialogue is not achieved in a day. It's a daily practice, a constant vigilance, a continuous choice to direct your thoughts rather than be directed by them. But with each small victory, with each thought redirected from weakness to strength, you build an inner empire that no external circumstance can conquer. Now, as you face your own battles, remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. You are the ruler of your mental empire. Choose your inner dialogue wisely, for it is writing the story of your life. There is a power in silence that few understand. In a world that celebrates noise, that rewards the loudest voice, that applauds the most dramatic display of emotion, I want to teach you about the supreme strength of bearing your burdens in silence. The common person complains. The stoic endures. This is not about suppressing your pain. It's about transcending it. When you feel the weight of suffering, when life presses down upon your shoulders, you have two choices. You can cry out, seeking the world's pity, or you can stand firm, gathering your strength in silence. Here's what most don't understand about suffering. Your response to it shapes its power over you. When you complain, you surrender twice. First to the pain itself, and then to the weakness of needing others to acknowledge it. But when you bear your burdens in silence, you maintain your sovereignty over your experience. Think of the ancient oak tree in a storm. Does it cry out as its branches bend? Does it beg for mercy as the wind tests its strength? No, it endures. It adapts, and in that silent endurance it grows stronger. Your suffering can serve the same purpose if you learn to bear it with dignity. But let me ask you this. When was the last time complaining improved your situation? When did seeking pity ever lighten your load? Look back at your moments of greatest growth. Were they not the times when you chose to face your challenges with quiet determination rather than loud resistance? The world is full of voices competing to be heard, full of people advertising their hardships like merchants in a marketplace. But true strength often speaks in whispers. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't seek validation. It simply does. What must be done quietly, persistently, without fanfare? Here's a truth that few want to hear. Your suffering doesn't make you special. Everyone suffers. What makes you different is how you carry that suffering. Do you wear it like a badge, demanding recognition? Or do you wear it like armor, letting it strengthen you in silence? Consider the discipline of breathing. When you are in pain, physical or emotional, your breath becomes your anchor. You don't need to announce your pain. You don't need to justify your struggle. Just breathe, accept, endure. This is the way of the Stoic warrior. The untrained mind seeks constant validation. It needs witnesses to its pain, audiences for its struggles, confirmation that its suffering is real and meaningful. But the disciplined mind understands. Meaning comes not from others' recognition of your pain, but from your response to it. Remember this: silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is the space where strength is built, where resilience is forged, where character is shaped. In your quiet moments of endurance, you are becoming something greater than your suffering. When others complain about the weight, you lift it in silence. When others cry about the darkness, you light your inner flame and continue forward. When others seek escape, you seek understanding. This is not about being stoic in the common sense, emotionless, cold. This is about being stoic in the philosophical sense, self-contained, self-reliant, self-governed. Here's what the wise understand. Your dignity is not in your suffering, but in how you bear it. The universe doesn't care about your complaints. It responds to your character, your actions, your quiet determination to rise above your circumstances. In your moments of greatest pain, remember, you don't need the world to validate your struggle. You don't need others to witness your strength. You need only to remain true to your principles, to maintain your course, to continue forward, with or without applause, with or without understanding, with or without comfort. The path of silent endurance is not easy. It requires you to be your own source of strength, your own source of validation, your own source of peace. But in this requirement lies true freedom. Because when you no longer need others to acknowledge your pain, you become invincible to their indifference. So bear your burdens with dignity. Face your challenges with quiet resolve. Let your actions speak louder than your complaints. In your silence, you will find a strength that no amount of noise can match. Listen carefully to this fundamental truth. You are not your circumstances. You are not your wealth, your title, your successes, or your failures. You are not what happens to you. You are what you choose to become in response to what happens to you. I speak to you not just as a philosopher, but as one who has lived this truth. I have been both emperor and student, commander and servant. I have known victory and defeat, acclaim and criticism. Through it all, I learned that circumstances are like clouds in the sky. They may shape the day, but they do not define the sun. Here's what most people don't understand. Your circumstances are temporary, but your character is permanent. When you attach your identity to temporary things, wealth, status, popularity, even relationships, you build your house on shifting sands. Every change in circumstance becomes a crisis of identity. But let me ask you this. When a storm strips a tree of its leaves, does it cease to be a tree? When winter freezes a river, does it cease to be a river? No. Their essence remains unchanged by their circumstances. Your true self is like this, unchangeable by external events. The common person says, I am unfortunate because this happened to me. The Stoic understands, this happened, and I remain who I choose to be. Notice the difference? The first is a surrender of identity to circumstance. The second is a declaration of sovereignty over self. Your principles, your values, your character, these are the anchors that hold steady in any storm. When you lose your wealth, you can remain generous in spirit. When you lose status, you can maintain your dignity. When you face defeat, you can preserve your integrity. These are choices that no circumstance can take from you. Consider this. Every circumstance that seems to define you is actually testing you. Poverty tests your resourcefulness. Wealth tests your wisdom. Power tests your humility. Loss tests your resilience. But the test is not the truth of who you are. It merely reveals what you choose to be. Here's a truth that few embrace. Circumstances don't come to break you. They come to reveal you. Every situation that challenges you is an opportunity to demonstrate your values, to prove your character, to reinforce your true identity. The obstacle is not your enemy, it is your teacher. The untrained mind is like a leaf in the wind, blown about by every change in circumstance. But the philosophical mind is like a mountain. It experiences all seasons but remains unmoved at its core. This steadiness comes not from ignoring circumstances, but from being anchored in something deeper than circumstances. Remember, you can lose everything external and still maintain everything essential. Your possessions can be taken, but your principles cannot. Your position can be stripped away, but your purpose cannot. Your reputation can be attacked, but your character cannot. Unless you choose to surrender it. When you face difficult circumstances, ask yourself, what part of me remains unchanged by this? What values can I express even in this situation? How can I demonstrate my true character, especially now? These questions reveal the gap between what happens to you and who you are. Though weak identify with their fortune, they are up when circumstances are up, down when circumstances are down. The strong identify with their principles. They remain steady regardless of external conditions. Which will you choose to be? Here's what the wise understand. Every circumstance is temporary, but every choice you make in response to your circumstances shapes your permanent character. You are not writing the script of what happens to you, but you are always writing the script of who you become. In your moments of hardship, remember, circumstances shape your situation, but they don't shape yourself. That power remains always in your hands. You can be stripped of everything external and still maintain your internal nobility. You can face the worst circumstances and still demonstrate the best of character. The path of true identity is not easy. It requires you to find your worth in something deeper than success, something more permanent than pleasure, something more reliable than fortune. It requires you to anchor yourself in principles that no circumstance can shake. So stand firm in who you are. Let your circumstances change. They will anyway. But let your character, your values, your true self remain constant. In this constancy, you will find a power that no circumstance can touch, a peace that no situation can disturb, a freedom that no condition can remove. You are not your circumstances. You are your choices. Choose wisely. Let us speak now of what most try to avoid, death and loss. Not to dwell in darkness, but to find in this contemplation a profound source of strength. I have buried children, lost friends, and faced my own mortality countless times. Through this I learned that peace comes not from denying death, but from embracing its lessons. Here's what most people don't understand about loss. It's not just inevitable, it's instructive. Everything you have, everything you love, everything you take pride in will one day be taken from you. This is not a tragedy. This is the natural order. And in this order lies a powerful truth. Nothing is truly yours except your response to this reality. The common person lives in denial of loss until it arrives. Then they are destroyed by what they refused to contemplate. But the Stoic prepares for loss while things are still present. Not with anxiety, not with dread, but with clear-eyed acceptance and gratitude for the temporary nature of all things. Think of how you hold water in your hands. You know it will slip through your fingers. Does this make the water less precious? No, it makes each moment of holding it more valuable. Your possessions, your loved ones, your very life. Hold them like water. Love them completely, but be ready to let them return to their source. But let me ask you this. What do you truly lose when death takes something from you? The future you imagined. That was never yours to begin with. The past you shared. That remains forever unchanged by death. The present moment, that is still yours to shape with wisdom and dignity. The untrained mind rails against loss, demanding that reality bend to its wishes. The philosophical mind understands. Loss is not an aberration to be fought. It is a fundamental truth to be accepted. In this acceptance lies not weakness, but unprecedented strength. Here's a truth that few are ready to hear. Everything you fear losing, you have already lost. Your youth is already gone. Your time is already passing. Your loved ones are already on their way to leaving. The only question is, will you waste your present moment in fear of what must come, or will you live fully, despite knowing it will end? Consider this practice. Each morning, remind yourself that you might not live past this day. Each evening, be grateful for the bonus time you received. This is not morbid. This is liberating. When you accept death as a constant companion, you learn to live with unprecedented clarity and purpose. The weak person says, "I cannot bear to think of loss." The strong person says, "Because I think of loss, I know how to live." The weak person begs for permanence in an impermanent world. The strong person finds peace in accepting the world as it is. Remember this: death and loss are not punishments. They are not indicators of cosmic unfairness. They are the natural completion of every story, the necessary counterweight to every beginning. Without them, nothing would have value. Nothing would have meaning. When loss enters your life, and it will, ask yourself, what remains unchanged? What can I not lose? What part of me stands independent of what has been taken? Your principles, your courage, your dignity, these remain yours to keep or surrender. Here's what the wise understand. Preparation for loss is not about becoming cold or detached. It's about loving more deeply precisely because nothing lasts. It's about living more fully precisely because life is finite. It's about choosing virtue precisely because everything else can be taken away. The path of stoic calm in the face of loss is not easy. It requires daily practice, constant reminder, unflinching honesty with yourself. But the reward is beyond measure. Freedom from the terror of loss, freedom from the anxiety of impermanence, freedom to live fully in the present moment. In your times of loss, remember, you were never promised forever. You were given now. Use it well. Love completely. Live fully. Act justly. Not despite the certainty of loss, but because of it. Let death be not your enemy, but your advisor, teaching you what truly matters while there is still time to choose. The final victory over death and loss comes not from avoiding them, for that is impossible, but from transcending them through wisdom. Let them teach you how to live. Let them show you what truly matters. Let them guide you to a life so well lived that its end becomes not a tragedy, but a natural completion. Listen well to this fundamental truth. Life will test you without warning. The storm doesn't announce its arrival. The battle doesn't wait for your preparation. Therefore, your training must be constant, relentless, harder than whatever life might throw at you. Here's what most don't understand about preparation. If you train only when you feel motivated, you've already failed. The warrior doesn't wait for inspiration. The warrior creates it through discipline. Every morning when you rise before the sun, every comfort you voluntarily deny yourself, every difficult task you embrace, this is your training ground. But let me ask you this. How do you expect to handle life's harshest moments if you can't handle minor discomforts? How will you face real challenges if you run from artificial ones? The time to build your strength is not during the storm. It's in the calm before it. Think of the gladiator. By the time he steps into the arena, the outcome is already determined, not by fate, but by his preparation. Every morning session he didn't skip, every extra round he pushed through, every comfort he sacrificed. These moments wrote the script of his victory long before the crowd arrived. The common person trains until they get it right. The warrior trains until they cannot get it wrong. This is not about perfection. It's about preparation. It's about building such deep foundations that even your worst day is better than most people's best. Consider this. Every difficult choice you make today is a deposit in your account of future strength. Every time you choose the harder path, the earlier morning, the longer practice, you're building a fortress of discipline that no external circumstance can breach. Here's a truth few want to acknowledge. Comfort is a poison administered in small doses. Each day you choose ease over effort, comfort over challenge. You're choosing to be weaker tomorrow than you could have been. Your comfort zone isn't a place to live. It's a place to visit occasionally for rest. The untrained mind says, "I'll work hard when it's important." The warrior's mind understands. It's already important. Every moment is training. Every interaction is practice. Every decision is preparation for bigger decisions to come. Remember this, your body can handle almost anything. It's your mind. You have to convince. Train your mind to embrace discomfort. Train your will to seek challenge. Train your spirit to find strength in struggle. This is how you become unbreakable. When others sleep, you train. When others quit, you continue. When others make excuses, you make progress. Not because you're better than them, but because you've trained harder than them. This is not arrogance. This is arithmetic. You cannot expect extraordinary results from ordinary effort. Here's what the wise understand. Training is not just about physical preparation. It's about mental fortitude, emotional resilience, spiritual strength. Every time you resist the urge to complain, you're training. Every time you choose gratitude over resentment, you're training. Every time you face your fears instead of fleeing them, you're training. The path of constant preparation is not easy. It demands everything from you, every day. It requires you to be your own taskmaster, your own critic, your own coach. But remember, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. In your moments of doubt, remember this. The struggle you're facing in training is nothing compared to the struggle you'll face without it. Choose your pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One leads to growth, the other to decay. Train harder than life hits, because life will hit hard without warning, without mercy. But if you've trained properly, you won't need mercy. You'll need only what you've already built within yourself through countless hours of preparation. Your training is not just about you. It's about being ready to serve others when they need you most. It's about being strong enough to carry not just your own burdens, but the burdens of those who depend on you. This is why you cannot afford to be weak. So rise early. Embrace discomfort. Seek out challenges, not because you enjoy hardship, but because you respect preparation. Not because you love pain, but because you love what pain makes possible. Growth, strength, readiness for whatever life brings. The storm is coming. Train harder. Let us speak now of anger, that seductive poison that promises power but delivers only weakness. I have commanded armies, governed an empire, faced betrayal and opposition. Through it all, I learned this truth. Anger is not strength. It is reason's surrender to impulse, wisdom's submission to passion. Here's what most don't understand about anger. It feels like power, but it's actually powerlessness. When you're angry, you haven't conquered the situation. You've been conquered by it. Your reason has been overthrown, your wisdom silenced, your perspective narrowed to a tunnel of rage. But let me ask you this. When has anger ever made you stronger? When has rage ever led to clarity? Look back at your moments of greatest anger. Did they reveal your power or expose your weakness? Did they solve problems or multiply them? Think of a clear mountain lake. When it's calm, you can see straight to the bottom. When it's disturbed, everything becomes muddy. Your mind is like this lake. Anger doesn't sharpen your vision. It clouds it. It doesn't reveal truth. It obscures it. The common person says, "My anger is justified." The philosopher asks, "Is my anger useful?" Notice the difference? One seeks to validate the emotion. The other seeks to evaluate its purpose. One is trapped in reaction. The other maintains choice. Consider this practice. When anger rises, pause. Not for calm's sake alone, but for clarity's sake. Ask yourself, what part of this situation can I control? What good can anger do here? What would reason suggest instead? This pause is not weakness. It is wisdom asserting itself over impulse. Here's a truth that few want to hear. Your anger reveals more about you than about what angered you. It shows where you're wounded, where you're attached, where you've placed expectations that reality isn't bound to honor. The untrained mind believes every angry thought deserves expression. The philosophical mind understands. Thoughts are like visitors. You don't have to serve tea to everyone that arrives. You can observe anger without becoming it. Remember this. Between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space is your power to choose. Your freedom is not in controlling what happens to you. It's in controlling your response to what happens. Anger surrenders this freedom. Reason preserves it. When others succumb to rage, remain steadfast in reason. When others seek revenge, seek understanding. When others lose control, maintain yours. Not because you don't feel the pull of anger, but because you've trained yourself to feel it without being ruled by it. Here is what the wise understand. Anger is often pain in disguise, fear in armor, hurt wearing a warrior's mask. When you learn to look beneath anger's surface, you find the real issues that need addressing. Anger is just the smoke. Find the fire. The path of reason over rage is not easy. It requires you to be stronger than your impulses, wiser than your wounds, more disciplined than your emotions. But the reward is freedom. Freedom from being puppeteered by every provocation, every slight, every challenge to your ego. In your moments of anger, remember, you have been given reason as a guide, wisdom as a shield, philosophy as a path. Use them. Let anger be not your master, but your messenger, telling you where you need to apply reason, where you need to examine your expectations, where you need to strengthen your understanding. True power lies not in the ability to express anger, but in the ability to understand it and choose a wiser response. The person who can look at what enrages others and remain clear-headed, this is the person who cannot be manipulated, cannot be controlled, cannot be defeated by mere provocation. The final victory over anger comes not from suppressing it, for that only builds pressure, but from transcending it through understanding. See it for what it is, a temporary storm in your mind, not the truth of who you are or what you must do. So stand firm in reason when passion would sweep you away. Let anger be your teacher, but not your master. Learn from it, but do not let it rule you, for in the choice between anger and reason lies the difference between being powerful and being merely forceful. Listen carefully to what I am about to share with you about pain, not as something merely to be endured, but as a mirror that reveals your deepest truths. Every wound you carry, every struggle you face, every pain you endure, these are not just burdens to bear, but windows into your soul. Here's what most people don't understand about pain. It's not just a sensation to be avoided or overcome. It's a teacher offering precious wisdom. When you feel pain, whether physical or emotional, you're receiving signals not just about what hurts, but about what matters to you, what you fear, what you need to strengthen or release. But let me ask you this: when was the last time you truly looked into pain's mirror? When did you last ask your suffering, what are you trying to show me? What weakness have I been hiding? What truth have I been avoiding? These questions transform pain from an enemy to an advisor. Think of a skilled physician examining a wound. They don't just see injury, they see information, the location, the depth, the type of pain. All these tell a story about what happened and what needs to heal. Your emotional and spiritual pains carry similar wisdom if you learn to read them. The common person says, "This pain is unfair. It shouldn't be happening to me." The philosopher asks, "What is this pain revealing that I need to see?" Notice the difference. One stance leads to victimhood, the other to growth. One traps you in suffering, the other transforms suffering into strength. Consider this. Every pain you feel is highlighting something. Physical pain shows where your body needs attention. Emotional pain shows where your character needs development. Mental pain shows where your understanding needs deepening. The pain is not the problem, it's the pointer. Here's a truth that few are ready to hear. Your greatest pains often reveal your greatest potential for growth. The things that hurt you most are usually showing you where you need to become stronger, wiser, more resilient. Pain is not just a wound, it's a workshop. The untrained mind runs from pain, numbs it, tries to forget it. The philosophical mind turns toward pain, examines it, learns from it, not with masochistic fascination, but with the clear understanding that within each pain lies a lesson waiting to be learned. Remember this: pain is often the pressure that transforms. Like coal under pressure becomes diamond, your character under pain can become something precious, but only if you're willing to stay with the process, to look in the mirror. Pain provides to see what it's showing you about yourself. When pain comes, and it will come, ask yourself, what part of me is this revealing? What weakness is being exposed? What strength is being demanded? These questions turn pain from something that happens to you into something that happens for you. Here's what the wise understand. Pain is not just random suffering. It's specific instruction. The particular way you hurt, the specific situations that wound you, the exact circumstances that cause you suffering, these are all precise indicators of where you need to grow. The path of using pain as a mirror is not easy. It requires you to look steadily at what most people avoid. It demands that you turn toward what others turn away from. But in this turning toward, in this willing examination, lies the possibility of profound transformation. In your moments of greatest pain, remember, you are not just experiencing suffering, you are receiving information. Every pang of loneliness tells you something about your relationships. Every flash of fear reveals something about your courage. Every burden of anxiety shows you something about your peace. The final victory over pain comes not from avoiding it or merely enduring it, but from understanding it. When you learn to look into pain's mirror with clear eyes and an open mind, you find not just reflection, but direction. Not just hurt, but healing. Not just weakness, but the path to strength. So face your pain with this new understanding. Let it show you what you need to see. Let it teach you what you need to learn. Let it reveal what you need to strengthen. For in pain's reflection lies not just the image of who you are, but the blueprint of who you could become. Look in the mirror. What do you see? Listen carefully to this fundamental truth that has guided emperors and slaves alike. There are things you can control and things you cannot. All of your power and all of your peace lies in knowing the difference. I have commanded armies, governed an empire, and faced countless challenges. Through it all, this principle has been my anchor. Here's what most people don't understand about control. They waste their energy trying to control what cannot be controlled, while neglecting their power over what they can actually influence. They rail against the weather while their own house remains untended. They curse the markets while their own habits remain unchecked. But let me ask you this. How much of your daily anxiety comes from trying to control the uncontrollable? How much of your strength is wasted attempting to bend reality to your wishes, rather than adapting yourself to reality's flow? The wise person knows peace lies not in having control, but in focusing your energy where control is possible. Think of an archer. They can control their stance, their breath, their focus, the tension in the bow. But once the arrow leaves the string, its path is beyond their power. Does this mean the archer's control is meaningless? No. It means their control must be perfect, where it exists, and their attachment must be released where it doesn't. The common person says, "I will not be satisfied until the world meets my expectations." The philosopher says, "I will direct my energy only to what I can affect." One stance leads to perpetual frustration, the other to growing mastery. One traps you in anxiety, the other sets you free. Consider this practice. Divide every situation into two categories, what you can control and what you cannot. Your thoughts, your actions, your responses, your principles, these are yours to command. The weather, other people's opinions, the past, the future's uncertainties, these are not. Focus exclusively on the first category. Here's a truth that few are ready to accept. Most of what happens in life is beyond your control. But your response to what happens is entirely within your power. This is not a limitation. It is liberation. It shows you exactly where to focus your energy, exactly where your true power lies. The untrained mind believes control means forcing reality to conform to its wishes. The philosophical mind understands true control begins with accepting reality exactly as it is, then working skillfully with what can be influenced. Remember this, you cannot control the waves, but you can learn to sail. You cannot command the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You cannot demand that life be easy, but you can become strong enough to handle its difficulties. When challenges arise, and they will arise, ask yourself, what part of this situation is under my control? Where can I actually exert influence? What can I do right now that would make a difference? These questions focus your energy where it can actually produce results. Here's what the wise understand. Letting go of what you cannot control is not resignation, it is strategic concentration of force. Like a great general who knows which battles to fight and which to bypass, you must learn where to apply your power and where to preserve it. The path of discerning control is not easy. It requires constant vigilance, honest self-assessment, and the courage to release what you cannot influence. But the reward is immense. Freedom from unnecessary anxiety, clarity of purpose, and power perfectly applied where it can actually make a difference. In your moments of greatest challenge, remember, you cannot control the cards you are dealt, but you can control how you play them. You cannot control the obstacles that appear, but you can control your response to them. You cannot control time's passage, but you can control what you do with each moment. The final victory comes not from having control over everything, for that is impossible, but from having perfect control over yourself. This is the domain where your power is absolute, where your influence is complete, where your mastery can grow without limit. So stand firm where you have control, act decisively where you have influence, and release with dignity what is not yours to command. For in this, balance lies not just peace, but power, true power, focused exactly where it can make a difference. The rain will fall, the wind will blow, time will pass. Let them. Your power lies elsewhere. Listen carefully to this truth that separates the strong from the weak. Seeking sympathy is a cage. Seeking growth is freedom. I have seen men destroyed not by their challenges, but by their desperate need for others to acknowledge their pain. I have watched warriors become victims the moment they began searching for pity rather than progress. Here's what most people don't understand about sympathy. It's a temporary balm that often becomes a permanent prison. The more you seek others' recognition of your pain, the more you anchor yourself to that pain, the more you crave understanding for your struggles, the more those struggles define you. But let me ask you this. When has pity ever made you stronger? When has collecting sympathy ever solved your problems? Look back at your moments of real growth. Did they come from others feeling sorry for you or from your decision to rise despite what others thought? Think of a wound that's constantly shown for sympathy. Does it heal faster because others see it? No. It often festers precisely because the focus is on displaying it rather than healing it. Your challenges are the same. They don't need an audience. They need action. The common person says, "Look how much I've suffered." The philosopher asks, "How can I use this suffering?" One stance keeps you trapped in the past. The other propels you into growth. One makes you a permanent victim. The other makes you a perpetual student. Consider this. Every time you seek sympathy, you're trading your power for comfort. Every time you tell your story of pain, hoping others will feel sorry for you, you're reinforcing your identity as someone who needs pity rather than someone who generates power. Here's a truth that few are ready to hear. The world doesn't owe you understanding. Your pain doesn't entitle you to others' sympathy. This might sound harsh, but it's actually liberating, because the moment you stop seeking validation for your struggles is the moment you start focusing on transcending them. The untrained mind believes sharing pain lessens it. The philosophical mind understands transforming pain transcends it. It's not about denying your struggles or hiding your challenges. It's about choosing to focus on growth rather than grief, on progress rather than pity. Remember this: strength grows in silence. Not in the silence of suppression, but in the silence of focused determination. The strongest among us aren't those who broadcast their struggles the loudest, but those who quietly transform their struggles into strength. When hardship comes, and it will come, ask yourself, am I seeking sympathy or solutions? Am I looking for pity or progress? Am I trying to prove how much I've suffered or prove how much I can grow? These questions will guide you from victimhood to victory. Here's what the wise understand. Your challenges don't need to be validated by others to be real. Your growth doesn't need to be witnessed to be valuable. Your strength doesn't need to be applauded to be authentic. The only validation that matters is the results you produce. The path of choosing growth over sympathy is not easy. It requires you to stand alone sometimes, to face your challenges without the cushion of others' pity, to find your strength without the crutch of others' understanding. But this is where true power is born, in your moments of greatest difficulty. Remember, you don't need others to understand your pain. You need to understand your own capacity for growth. You don't need others to acknowledge your struggles. You need to acknowledge your own power to overcome them. The final victory comes not from having your suffering recognized, but from having your strength revealed. Not from showing others how much you've hurt, but from showing yourself how much you can grow. Not from collecting sympathy, but from generating power. So rise without applause, grow without validation, transform without explanation. Let your results speak louder than your complaints. Let your growth be more visible than your pain. Let your strength be more evident than your struggles. The world doesn't need your story of suffering. It needs your example of overcoming. Listen carefully to this eternal truth. True power lies not in the ability to create chaos, but in the ability to remain still within it. I have commanded armies in battle, governed an empire in turmoil, and faced personal storms that would shake any soul. Through it all, I learned that strength is not force, it is stillness. Here's what most people don't understand about stillness. It's not the absence of movement, but the presence of deliberate peace. It's not withdrawal from the world's chaos, but the cultivation of an inner sanctuary that chaos cannot touch. This stillness is not weakness. It is the highest form of power. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you were truly still? Not just physically inactive, but mentally quiet. Not just externally peaceful, but internally calm. Most never achieve this state because they mistake stillness for inaction, calm for weakness. Think of a mountain during a storm. The winds howl, the rain beats down, lightning splits the sky, yet the mountain remains unmoved. Not because it's fighting the storm, but because its stillness runs deeper than any surface disturbance. Your consciousness can achieve this same unshakable calm. The common person says, "I'll find peace when things calm down." The philosopher understands things will never calm down. You must become the calm within the storm. One stance leaves you forever waiting. The other makes you forever powerful. Consider this practice. In your moments of greatest chaos, instead of adding to the turbulence with your own agitation, become deliberately still, not as an escape, but as a strategic position. Like the eye of a hurricane, let everything spin around you while you maintain your center. Here's a truth that few are ready to hear. Chaos is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It shows you where you're still reactive, where you're still controlled by external circumstances, where you've yet to develop true stillness. Each disturbance is an opportunity to deepen your calm. The untrained mind is like a leaf in the wind, thrown about by every gust of circumstance. The philosophical mind is like the depths of the ocean. There may be storms on the surface, but deep below, all is quiet, all is still. Remember this, stillness is not something you find, it's something you create. It's not a place you go to escape the world's chaos. It's a power you cultivate to transform how you experience that chaos. This stillness becomes your superpower in a world addicted to noise. When others panic, you remain calm. When others react, you respond. When others are overwhelmed by the storm, you become the eye of that storm, not because you're disconnected, but because you're operating from a deeper level of consciousness. Here's what the wise understand. The quality of your life is not determined by the absence of chaos, but by your ability to remain still within it. This stillness is what allows you to see clearly, decide wisely, and act effectively while others are blinded by their own turbulence. The path of stillness is not easy. It requires you to go against the world's momentum, to resist the pull of panic, to maintain your center when everything around you spins out of control. But this is precisely why it's so powerful, because few achieve it. In your moments of greatest challenge, remember, your power lies not in your ability to make things happen, but in your ability to maintain your center while things happen. Not in your capacity to control external events, but in your capacity to control your internal state. The final victory comes not from conquering the chaos around you, for that is impossible, but from cultivating such deep stillness within you that no external chaos can disturb your peace. This is not retreat. This is mastery. So cultivate your stillness like a warrior cultivates their strength. Practice it in small moments so it's available in big ones. Build it in times of peace so it serves you in times of chaos. Let it become not just a practice, but a power, your power. The world will rage, the storms will come, the chaos will continue. Let it. Your stillness runs deeper. Listen carefully to this profound truth. Your strength is not meant for you alone. I have commanded the most powerful empire on earth. Yet I learned that true power lies not in what you can take, but in what you can give. Your struggles, your growth, your power, these are not just for your own glory, but for the service of humanity. Here's what most people don't understand about strength. It finds its highest purpose not in domination, but in elevation. The strongest among us are not those who stand above others, but those who lift others up. Your pain, once transformed into wisdom, becomes a light that can guide those still walking in darkness. But let me ask you this. What good is your strength if it serves only yourself? What value is your wisdom if it lifts only your own spirit? Look at your hardships, your victories, your growth. Are these not lessons that could serve others who walk similar paths? Think of a mighty oak tree. Its strength lies not just in standing tall, but in providing shelter, in offering shade, in creating an ecosystem that sustains countless lives. Your strength should function the same way, not as a monument to your ego, but as a resource for the common good. The common person says, "I've suffered too much to care about others." The philosopher understands, "I've suffered enough to know why others need my help." One stance keeps you trapped in your pain. The other transforms your pain into purpose. Consider this. every hardship you've overcome, every battle you've won, every insight you've gained. These are not just personal victories. They are tools you've been given to help others fight their own battles, overcome their own challenges, find their own way. Here's a truth that few are ready to hear. Your strength is not your possession. It's your responsibility. The power you've gained through struggle, the wisdom you've earned through pain, the resilience you've built through adversity. These are not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of all. The untrained mind sees service as weakness, as giving, away power. The philosophical mind understands. Service is power perfectly expressed. It's strength finding its highest purpose. It's personal growth becoming universal good. Remember this, every time you use your strength to lift another, you don't lose power, you demonstrate its true purpose. Every time you turn your pain into guidance for others, you don't diminish your story, you complete it. When others are weak, be their strength. When others are lost, be their guide. When others are broken, be their hope. Not because you're superior, but because you're familiar with the path they're walking. You've been there. You've survived it. Now help them do the same. Here's what the wise understand. Your greatest victories are not the battles you win for yourself, but the battles you help others win. Your most important strength is not what you can lift, but who you can lift. Your true power is not in rising above others, but in raising others up. The path of service is not easy. It requires you to remain strong, not just for yourself, but for others. To maintain hope, not just for your journey, but for theirs. To find purpose, not just in your growth, but in their elevation. In your moments of greatest strength, remember, you are not strong just for yourself. In your moments of deepest wisdom, remember, you are not wise just for your own sake. Your power finds its perfect expression in service, your strength its true purpose in support. The final victory comes not from standing alone at the summit, but from leading others there. Not from achieving personal greatness, but from helping others discover their own greatness. Not from being a beacon of strength, but from being a source of strength for others. So use your power to protect the weak. Use your wisdom to guide the lost. Use your strength to lift the fallen. Let your struggles become someone else's hope. Let your victories become someone else's map. Let your strength become someone else's shelter. The world doesn't need more powerful people. It needs more people who use their power to serve. Listen carefully to this vital truth about time, the one resource that even an emperor cannot command. I have ruled vast territories, commanded mighty armies, held power over millions, yet I could not create a single additional moment of time. Like a blade, time cuts without discrimination. And like a blade, its power lies in how you wield it. Here's what most people don't understand about time. It's not merely passing, it's cutting. Every moment shapes your life, carves your character, sculpts your destiny. Whether this cutting builds or destroys depends not on time itself, but on how you use its edge. But let me ask you this. How are you wielding the blade of time? Are you using it to carve your path to greatness, or are you letting it slice away at your potential? Look at yesterday. Did you use time, or did time use you? Think of a master swordsman. They don't waste motion, don't squander force, don't strike without purpose. Each movement is deliberate, each cut intentional, each moment used with precision. Your use of time must carry this same warrior's discipline. The common person says, I don't have enough time. The philosopher understands, I have exactly the time I need if I use it with perfect precision. One stance makes you a victim of time. The other makes you its master. Consider this. Every moment is a blade stroke against the stone of your life. Will it sharpen you or wear you down? Will it carve meaning or cut away purpose? The difference lies not in the moment itself, but in your mastery of its use. Here is a truth that few are ready to hear. Time is not your enemy. Waste is. Procrastination is not a time problem. It's a courage problem. Saying, I don't have time really means I haven't made this a priority. The warrior faces these truths without flinching. The untrained mind sees time as something to spend. The philosophical mind understands time is something to invest. Every moment is a seed that will bear fruit or weeds. The choice of what to plant is yours alone. Remember this. You cannot control time's passage, but you can control its impact. You cannot own time, but you can own what you do with it. You cannot stop time's blade from cutting, but you can decide what it cuts away and what it reveals. When others waste time, you invest it. When others kill time, you make it live. When others surrender to time's passage, you harness its power. Not because you have more time, but because you've learned to wield it with a warrior's precision. Here's what the wise understand. Time is the ultimate revealer of truth. It shows what you truly value by where you place your moments. It exposes your real priorities by what you choose to do when the pressure is highest and the hours are shortest. The path of mastering time is not easy. It requires you to be ruthlessly honest about how you use each moment, to cut away the non-essential without mercy, to face the reality that every yes to one thing is a no to something else. In your moments of decision, remember, time is not just passing, it's cutting. Each choice you make, each moment you use, each priority you set is either sharpening your life's blade or dulling it, either carving your path to greatness or cutting away at your potential. The final victory over time comes not from having more of it, for that is impossible, but from using it with perfect precision, from making each moment cut clean and true toward your highest purpose. From wielding time like a master swordsman wields their blade, so use your time like a warrior uses their weapon, with purpose, with precision, with power. Let each moment cut away what doesn't serve your growth. Let each hour carve deeper into your potential. Let each day sculpt you closer to greatness. The blade of time will cut. Make sure it cuts in your favor. Listen carefully to this paradox that holds the key to unshakable strength. You must accept completely what is while fighting relentlessly for what could be. I have ruled an empire built on this truth, that the greatest power lies not in fighting reality nor in surrendering to it, but in this perfect balance of acceptance and will. Here's what most people don't understand about fate. Fighting against what has already occurred is futile, but accepting what is doesn't mean resigning to what will be. Like a master archer, you must accept the wind while adjusting your aim. Like a skilled sailor, you must accept the waves while holding your course. But let me ask you this. How much of your strength do you waste fighting what has already happened? How much power do you lose resisting what cannot be changed? And yet, how often do you use acceptance as an excuse for inaction when action is still possible? Think of a tree in a storm. It accepts the wind, its leaves bend, its branches sway. But its roots grip deeper, its trunk stands firm, its very being declares, "I will not be uprooted." This is the paradox in action. Total acceptance of what is, total commitment to remaining standing. The common person says, "This shouldn't be happening," or "There's nothing I can do." The philosopher understands, "This is happening. Now what? Strength can I bring to this moment?" One stance breaks against reality. The other transforms it. Consider this practice. In every situation, ask yourself two questions. First, what about this must I accept completely? Second, what about this can I influence powerfully? Let your acceptance be total where it must be, and let your will be unstoppable where it can be. Here's a truth that few are ready to hear. Fate will deal you cards you didn't ask for, but how you play them is entirely your choice. Acceptance without resignation, commitment without delusion. This is the razor's edge where true power lies. The untrained mind sees acceptance and will as opposites. The philosophical mind understands they are partners in the dance of mastery. Acceptance gives you clear vision. Will gives you unstoppable force. Together, they make you unbeatable. Remember this, acceptance is not weakness, it is wisdom. Will is not defiance, it is directed power. When you accept what is, you free up the energy that was wasted in denial. When you exert your will where it matters, you focus that energy where it can actually make a difference. When others rage against reality, you accept and adapt. When others resign to mediocrity, you accept the challenge and rise. When others are broken by circumstances, you accept the pain and grow stronger. Not because you're special, but because you understand this paradox. Here's what the wise understand. The universe will not bend to your wishes, but it will respond to your will, if that will is focused where it can actually have impact, like a martial artist who uses an opponent's force rather than fighting it. You must learn to work with reality while pursuing your purpose. The path of this paradox is not easy. It requires constant discernment between what must be accepted and what can be changed. It demands the wisdom to know the difference and the courage to act accordingly. But this is where true power lies. In your moments of greatest challenge, remember, accept everything about this moment that has already happened. It is as much a fact as the ground beneath your feet, but bring everything you have to what happens. Next, let your acceptance be complete and your will be unstoppable. The final victory comes not from having everything go your way, for that is impossible, but from learning to work powerfully with whatever way things go. Not from avoiding fate's challenges, but from accepting them as the raw material from which you will forge your destiny. So stand firm in this paradox. Accept what is, completely, totally, without reservation. But fight for what can be, fiercely, relentlessly, with everything you have. Let your acceptance ground you in reality while your will drives you toward possibility. The wind will blow. Accept it. Your course remains true. Hold it. Listen carefully to this eternal truth that most spend their lives avoiding. You will die, not as a distant possibility, but as an absolute certainty. I have ruled an empire, commanded legions, wielded supreme power, yet I too am mortal. This is not a morbid thought. It is the most clarifying force in existence. Here's what most people don't understand about death. Its certainty is not meant to paralyze you with fear, but to galvanize you with purpose. Memento mori, remember you must die, is not a whisper of doom, but a call to truly live. The awareness of death is the greatest source of life. But let me ask you this. If you knew with absolute certainty that you had 1 year left, what would you stop tolerating? What would you stop postponing? What petty concerns would fall away? Death's lens brings perfect clarity to life's priorities. Think of an hourglass. Each grain of sand is a moment of your life, falling without pause, without mercy, without discrimination. You cannot stop it. You cannot slow it. You cannot add more sand. But you can ensure each grain falls with purpose. The common person says, I'll think about death when I'm older. The philosopher understands, I must think about death now, precisely because I'm alive. One stance leads to a life of postponement, the other to a life of urgent purpose. Consider this. Every breath you take moves you closer to your last. Every heartbeat is one fewer remaining. Every sunrise brings you closer to your final sunset. These are not dark thoughts. They are wake-up calls to stop sleepwalking through your existence. Here's a truth that few are ready to hear. You are dying right now. Not in some distant future, but in this very moment. The only question is, are you also truly living right now? Are you using your numbered heartbeats for what truly matters? The untrained mind runs from death's reality. The philosophical mind embraces it as the most powerful advisor. Every decision, every priority, every action becomes clearer when viewed through death's lens. What petty grievance can survive death's perspective? Remember this, death does not make life meaningless. It makes life meaningful. It is the limited supply of something that gives it value. Your mortality is not your enemy. It is the force that gives your choices weight, your time value, your life significance. When others waste time, you invest it preciously. When others cling to petty concerns, you focus on what truly mattered. When others postpone their purpose, you live yours now, not because you have more time, but because you understand you have none to waste. Here's what the wise understand. Death is not opposed to life, it is part of life. Like the horizon gives definition to the landscape, death gives definition to life. Without it, nothing would have urgency, nothing would have importance, nothing would have meaning. The path of living with death's awareness is not easy. It requires you to face what most avoid, to embrace what most deny, to live with what most run from. But in this acceptance lies unprecedented power to live fully, to love deeply, to act decisively. In your moments of greatest triviality, remember, you will die. In your moments of deepest fear, remember, you will die. In your moments of procrastination, of hesitation, of doubt, remember, you will die. Let this thought burn away all that is unnecessary, all that is unworthy of your numbered heartbeats, though. Final victory comes not from avoiding death's reality, for that is impossible, but from using its clarity to live magnificently. Not from pretending you have forever, but from knowing you don't and living accordingly. Not from seeking immortality, but from using your mortality as fuel for significance. So face your death, not with fear but with awareness, not with dread, but with determination. Let it strip away your trivial concerns. Let it focus your limited time. Let it clarify your essential purpose. Your death is certain. Your life's impact is not. Choose wisely. Listen carefully to this final fundamental. Truth, the greatest conquest is not of nations or armies, but of yourself. I have commanded the most powerful empire on earth, yet I tell you this with absolute certainty. There is no victory greater than self-mastery, no freedom more complete than self-rule, no power more absolute than self-control. Here's what most people don't understand about mastering themselves. It is not about suppression, but about elevation. It's not about forcing yourself into submission, but about aligning every part of yourself with your highest purpose. The master of the self isn't a tyrant. They're a wise ruler of their own empire. But let me ask you this. How can you expect to rule anything external if you cannot rule yourself? How can you command circumstances when your own thoughts command you? How can you master life when your emotions master you? All external power flows from internal sovereignty. Think of your consciousness as an empire. Your thoughts are its citizens, your emotions its forces, your habits its laws, your actions its consequences. Like any empire, it requires constant vigilance, wise governance, and strong leadership. You are its emperor, but are you ruling or merely reigning? The common person says, I can't help how I feel, or I can't control my thoughts. The philosopher understands, I am not my thoughts or feelings. I am their ruler. One stance surrenders your power, the other claims it fully. Consider this. Every thought you allow to stay, every emotion you choose to feed, every action you decide to take is either strengthening or weakening your self-mastery. There are no neutral choices in the empire of the self. You are either building discipline or eroding it. Here is a truth that few are ready to hear. You are not your impulses, your emotions, your thoughts, or even your habits. You are the power that can observe them, direct them, and master them. This is not just philosophy, it is the key to ultimate freedom. The untrained mind believes freedom means doing whatever you feel like. The philosophical mind understands true freedom is the power to do what needs to be done, regardless of what you feel like. This is self-mastery, and it is the highest power. Remember this, external circumstances will always be beyond your complete control, but your response to them is entirely within your power. This is where true mastery lies, not in controlling the world, but in maintaining absolute sovereignty over yourself, regardless of what the world does. When others are slaves to their impulses, you remain master of your choices. When others are ruled by their emotions, you remain ruler of your responses. When others are controlled by circumstances, you remain in command of yourself. Not because you feel no impulses, experience no emotions, or face no circumstances, but because you have learned to rule them rather than be ruled by them. Here's what the wise understand. Self-mastery is not a destination. It's a continuous practice. Every moment presents a new opportunity to either strengthen or weaken your sovereignty over yourself. Every challenge is a chance to either prove or surrender your self-rule. The path of self-mastery is not easy. It requires constant vigilance, unflinching self-honesty, and the courage to face and master the parts of yourself that most prefer to ignore or indulge. But this is the only path to true power, true freedom, true peace. In your moments of greatest challenge, remember, you are not your anger. You are the awareness that can observe and master it. You are not your fear. You are the consciousness that can acknowledge and transcend it. You are not your desires. You are the power that can direct and elevate them. The final victory comes not from conquering others, for that is temporary, but from conquering yourself, for that is permanent, not from having power over others, but from having absolute power over yourself. Not from being able to control circumstances, but from being able to control your response to any circumstance. So, rule your inner empire with wisdom and strength. Let your thoughts serve your purpose, not distract from it. Let your emotions fuel your growth, not derail it. Let your actions build your character, not betray it. This is the path to true power. This is the way to ultimate freedom. You are the emperor of yourself. Rule wisely.